right? Now, talking of water pollution in general, again, see, whenever you say water pollution, there are certain facts you can remember. For example, we can talk about River Ganga, the coliform bacteria having very high concentrations as per CPCB. You can directly mention CPCB here. Okay, again, a lot of polluted rivers, polluted or let's say declining rivers, biological disasters. Okay, like rivers like Gomti, of course, Ganga. So they have seen, so a lot of water pollution is happening in these cases. Okay, so first of all, we need to know exactly, of course, this part here. Okay, so that is the first thing to be aware about. Now, additionally, if we also have to talk about, this is the fact related part. Okay, now the second thing to know here in this case is what are the sources of water pollution. Again, here there are two things. One, there are point sources, and then there are non point sources. Remember, in the aquatic ecosystems chapter, we had also seen again this. We'd seen eutrophication. Remember, eutrophication, increase of nitrates, increase of phosphates. I'm again writing eutrophication here so that you remember. I had also specifically discussed wetlands, mangrove, etc. So you know. Okay. Now, in the sources, again remember, you can have untreated, so waste from industries, wastewater, so industrial waste, untreated municipal waste, for example, in individuals, they are also generating a lot of waste, heavy metals, waste from agriculture. So multiple sources are there. That is one thing you need to remember. Okay, and here also there are major consequences health wise. Think about the people living close by. They will use the water. Again, more and more waterborne diseases will happen. More deaths will happen. Again, remember, in water pollution, in case, for example, in India, increase of more heavy metal pollution is happening. When I say heavy metal, I can mention the case of uranium, for example, case of arsenic. This is increasing, again leading to premature deaths, kidney issues. Okay, more and more. I can even add mercury here, Minamata disease. Remember that. Okay, so consequences. Remember health, social how inequality, and with that also remember SDG 6. There is no access to clean drinking water. This will also impact the health of women, children, vulnerable sections, and also people in general. If the people don't have enough access to water, again health, nutrition cannot be taken care of, and with that education can also not be taken care of. Fine. And then this will also impact water pollution, will lead to death of marine diversity. This is there. And water pollution is one aspect. You can even add the issue of plastics. Okay, again I'll talk about plastics when I talk about waste management as well. But remember, when I say plastics, plastics will lead to a lot of problems. Okay, why? Especially in water, and again these things you already know, more and more microplastics. So within water, let's say people are going for boat ride, generally people are living, tourists, they throw a lot of plastic bottles. Okay, and so much of microplastics are generated every year. Tons of this is generated. This is being injected by the marine life. They will also die because of this. Okay, so this can also lead to how this will change. Remember eutrophication, algal bloom. This will lead to change in or disruption of global trade, economic consequences also. Fine. So again, this is one way to ultimately understand that there will be multifaceted consequences. Okay, so this is again just one thing to understand overall, at least in this manner, right? So that is one. Now if I were to add some more, let's say, aspects to the water pollution part here. Okay, so one or two things that you can highlight. Okay, let us go back for this part just a second. Right. Okay. See, causes of water pollution. Okay, I think the slide was stuck for a second. Yeah. Please note, septic tanks, animal dung, intensive farming, pesticides, water table, industrial waste. Okay. Household waste, wastewater, nuclear waste. Now, this part was recently asked. Okay. Oil pollution and oil spills. So, what they've done, out of many sources of pollution, only one aspect they have touched. Okay. Here also a very basic diagram, point sources, non-point sources. Point sources are the ones which you can identify. Non-point sources are the ones which are diffused, very difficult to identify. Okay. So this is something that we need to know. So causes of water pollution we know. Okay. And then there are other sources of water pollution, that is also something to keep in mind. Okay. Now before I talk about how to control this, the consequences, I think we are very clear about the consequences in this particular manner. Okay, that what are the consequences, and then with this I will also talk about the aspects of microplastics also. Okay, so just give me a second. So what we can highlight here, at least for water pollution, okay, this is there. Ganga is one of the examples. We can also talk about high levels of pollution seen in the river Yamuna as well. Okay, and similarly CPCB similarly talking about that many rivers in India are facing issues because of high coliform bacteria, industrial effluents, sewage. So this has become a huge issue in general. Okay, and globally also, if I were to highlight, WHO here has highlighted that millions of people don't have access to clean drinking water sources. Okay, so this is again one of the things. Sources, I think the best way to remember it, or you can draw a diagram like this. Okay, in a hub and spoke, just mention all the sources. So here I'm not mentioning it specifically here. All the sources you can highlight. Okay, consequences, I think also you know, basically health, economic. Okay, and then you can make these points more specific. Now in economic, you can even add agriculture to it. If the water is polluted, this will ultimately lead to decline in fertility, environmental issues, social issues. This is going to be a problem overall. Okay, effect on marine biodiversity, right? And why is this a challenge? And then we'll go into how to control it, because this is the major problem: point sources and non-point sources. Similarly, what are the challenges? Okay, solutions we know, and solutions every year we are trying to implement, but why are you not able to solve this? So again, let me first tell you certain challenges. Challenges, same framework we'll remember. So no need to make your answers complicated. See, what did I tell you? See, one issue here will be point and non-point sources. So you are not able to identify the sources of pollution, number one. Second, lax implementation is there. In various cities, or in various areas, many industrial waste keeps on happening. You cannot control it. Okay, so implementation wise, we know we can talk about lack of industrial waste treatment, lack of sewage waste treatment plants. This is an issue. People side, you can also highlight. People awareness, of course, is not up to the mark, but again, a lot of things are lifestyle issues happen, that people are dumping so much of waste. Additionally, one major point of sources I will also add is this plastics. Plastic is a huge problem, especially in the marine domain. Okay, and more than plastic, the more problem is marine plastics, microplastics, because of its toxicity, because of its small size, because of its ubiquity. It is found everywhere, and hence a huge problem. So these make, so people issues, okay, plastics. Okay, and again, see, it ultimately becomes no one's responsibility. Environment is a global common. Okay, so when you see vast stretches of river, and again irresponsible behavior by the tourists, the people who come from the outside, you would have seen, okay, recently also, the people going to Himachal and again polluting, many videos you would have seen in the internet also. So the point is, you cannot immediately solve these problems. Okay, you need a lot of awareness mechanisms, a lot of, let's say, awareness campaigns, both by the people, also by the government. But additionally, and remember challenges, which means you need to invest a lot of money in treatment of this water. And when you need money, you also need technology. Remember, when I say oil spills, to tackle oil spills, it's not very easy. You have to go for bioremediation. Okay, you have to go for more better, let's say, specific treatment plans. Okay, so the challenges, of course, are there with respect to technology, how better you can treat it. And then again, same, what would you do with the penalties? So these are also some of the major challenges, regulatory challenges, technology. Okay, here also many rivers are flowing, interstate issues are already there in the water sharing. Here also, who will clean it, whose responsibility? So a lot of red tape. See, Ganga action plan, we know, national mission for clean Ganga, so much money has been allocated to it, but what is the current status? Can that not be a part? All these points you can mention in that. Okay, earlier, let me just take example of, let's say, this cleaning of river Ganga. Earlier, the river Ganga used to be cleaned in silos. Now you are changing the approach to make it very comprehensive. How? You are going for an ecosystem or a whole basin approach, which means not only are you going to clean the river, you are also going to set up proper, you have to have the development around the region. Everything. You will have sewage treatment plants. So this is a very holistic method. Earlier, we used to only think of very specific things. Okay, one thing here, one thing here, one thing here. But then we understood the whole ecosystem has to be conserved. That is one of the good learnings overall. Okay, so again, when you talk about water pollution, this is also what we have to talk about. Okay, what can be done, let's say, in this manner. Okay, and just a couple of points before we move to the last part here. So in terms of water management, technology wise, what we can do. So one, we can talk about advanced water treatment. Again, this will require more money. Okay, advanced water treatment can be explored. Now this can be explored at both domestic level, at the industrial level. This you can expand on. I'm just telling you some basic points. Now one point you can always write. You have read this. Now is the time. Bio remediation. This point you can also link with oil spills. For example, oil zapper, oilivorous S. This can be used to treat the water. So this can be done. Additional point, technology wise also, how to manage the plastic waste. Because remember, plastic waste is a huge problem in water management. Okay, these are certain things that can be done. Then you can go for public private partnership. You have to go for, please note this term, integrated water management plans. Here you can link the ecosystem based approach. Things have to be integrated. Another point that you can think about here, okay, technology, then public awareness, then you can add governance or administrative points, more penalties, better monitoring, review, verification. If you already have schemes which are getting money, MRV is going to be very important. Okay, funding mechanisms you will see, because funding is needed again for all of this integrated water management, public private partnership, technology. So these are some of the points that you can think. Okay, which is why if you get questions, let's say we had a question on oil spills and oil pollution. One, we can talk about the increasing incidences. Okay, recently in Ennore there was an oil spill. Ennore is in this part of Tamil Nadu. Okay, so how to tackle with that oil spill? You can use the same framework. Okay, that one, we can use technology. One second. Okay, technology, public private partnership, integrated water or let's say oil management, public awareness, better governance, okay, better regulatory mechanisms. So try to borrow these frameworks and try to generate points. Okay, you will be definitely benefited in this manner. Okay, coming back to what we were discussing now, how to tackle this water pollution. We already have the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, this, plus we can also use provisions from, in the previous question also, air pollution, you can mention Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act of 1981 as well as Environment Protection Act of 1986. This is the legislative way to do it. Okay, CPCB as a body, previously we had seen Commission on Air Quality Management. Okay, then the works of CPCB like AQI, etc. This talks about pH, dissolved oxygen, biological oxygen demand. Okay, use these kind of keywords in your answers. On and also borrow, I've already mentioned what we did in eutrophication. Okay, so yes, sewage and effluent treatment plants. Okay, bioremediation, oil zapper, use of water hyacinth, Bregoli. This is all the example of bioremediation. Oil zapper is specific to your oil spills. You can mention that. Again, coagulation, flocculation. Again, these are measures to improve the water treatment technologies. Correction of pH. These are some of the mechanisms that can be done to control water pollution, but we have seen even more mechanisms. Okay, here. That is what you can add. Technology wise, PPP, integrated water management, plastic management also. Okay, plastic waste, because again plastic waste here will be very dangerous. So this is something that you can definitely talk about and note. All right. So this is one, yes, marine plastic pollution is something which can be linked here. This can triple by 2040. Again, a very specific issue of microplastics, of its toxicity. Okay, so again, this is something we can talk about in some detail. Okay, now talking of microplastics, at least a couple of things I will tell you, just maybe in one slide, some keywords that you should note. Talking of plastic pollution. Okay, one, mention the harmfulness of single-use plastics. India also wants to phase this out. Okay, totally eliminate the single-use plastics. SUP is a huge problem. Okay. Second is the availability. It is present everywhere. Okay. There is a lack of, let's say, treatment or waste management, which leads to a huge burden, and specifically the whole issue of microplastics, microbeads. You would have seen these are present in a lot of creams, okay, even in gels, in exfoliating creams, etc. So this is becoming a problem globally. Okay, so because of single-use plastics, because of their widespread availability, lack of proper treatment, management, and the microplastics, this has become a huge problem. Okay, so this is issue. Then it has a toxic exposure, which means it can cause cancer. It is an endocrine disruptor, these plastics. Remember, it can harm the marine health. Deaths can happen because of ingestion of this toxic. Okay. This, of course, the treatment of water will lead to high cost. This requires money. It will harm the overall wildlife and the cycle. So these are all the major points that is related to it.